Hey out there, YouTube family. Welcome to another edition of the Kevin Strong Show. And the title of this video is called Houdini Job Offers. Now you see them, now you don't. There's a lot of employers out there that are making job offers to employees. And in the 11th hour, they're pulling or rescinding those job offers and telling those folks, I'm sorry, we don't have a job for you anymore. So it's a growing trend. You need to be careful about things like that. So we're going to talk about an article that outlines a couple of stories that this video speaks to about people who were given job offers, and then in the 11th hour, the employer retracted the offer and kind of just left these people out in the dust, so to speak. And it's a valuable lesson for anyone who's in transition from one job to another. So without further ado, let's get into the news. Once again, the title of this article that we're going to dive into today is called It's Almost Unbelievable. People are having their job offers rescinded days before they start. And that's how I teed up this article. We're going to dive into this in a moment, like I said, but just to give you some idea of what's going on in the economic landscape, in my humble opinion, once again, this is just editorial content. I am not a financial planner. I don't give financial advice. This is just my opinion. But I think clearly, as I've been on record for the last 4 or 5 months, even saying the latter part of 2021, that in 2022 that we will see a recession. I think we're probably already in a recession, but technically, until we get two negative prints of GDP back-to-back quarters, that they're not going to call it a recession. But most people are feeling it now. So contrary to popular belief, a lot of people don't really know how long does a recession last. But believe it or not, it lasts about 11 months on average. Back in 2008, when we had the they call it the great financial crisis, when everything was pretty much getting ready to implode until the government stepped in. And what I mean by everything imploding, I mean our financial system was on the brinks of collapsing. It was over. Our fiat currency was done. Just a quick history lesson. The average fiat currency, the life expectancy of it, it's about 50 years. President Nixon in 1971 took the United States off the gold standard. So for every dollar, there had to be gold backing that. We got removed from that system in 1971. And ever since then, debt started to accumulate. So fiat currency basically was our standing system in 1971. Add 50 years to 1971, it gives you 2021, but that's on average. But getting back to my original point is that back in 2008, that, in my humble opinion, was the beginning of the implosion of the capitalism, at the beginning of capitalism just ending as we know it. The government stepped in and instituted quantitative easing. And once again, as I said earlier, debt started to ensue since then. But back in 2008, the average, I shouldn't say the average, the recession period back in 2008 was probably about 18 months. I'm going to say it was probably from like December of 2007 to around June or July of 2009. So that's roughly about 18 months. That was a deep recession because it was almost twice as long as the average recession, which is 11 months. Some economic and financial pundits believe that not only will this next crisis be worse than 2008, we might go into a depression. What's the difference between a depression and a recession? I'll just keep it very simple. More pain for a longer period of time, typically years, as we all know about the history of the Great Depression of 1929 1930. And we all know how we got out of that. It was a war. So sorry about the little history lesson. I just want to kind of tee that up. But let's get into this article. There's a lady here called Joy Speller. She was excited to start a new job. Let's say June 6th, it says here in the article. And I guess she got hired as a project delivery specialist for a healthcare company. To make a long story short, she was supposed to start on Monday. That didn't happen. Then they told her Tuesday didn't happen. And as you can realize that over a period of time, nothing was basically etched in stone. On Friday, Speller got a phone call due to budget cuts. The job she hadn't even started yet. I can't even read this today, was being eliminated. And this is what her quote was. I was told We're trying to find me a position in a different department, but it's also the end of the fiscal year. So they're taking a long time to get back to me. This lady's 26 years old, out of Charlotte, North Carolina. I left one job thinking I was going to another, so I wasn't financially prepared for what is coming. So this is a very sad and tragic situation, and I've been on record for a long period of time for those people who prefer to work for someone opposed to being self-employed. Don't have any opinion about that one way or the other. There's people who are making a ton of money, right? There's people in Microsoft in the greater Seattle area that are making three, four, $500,000 a year, and they're not self-employed. So to say that you can't make a significant amount of money being a W-2 employee is a misnomer. That is not true. Now, on average, yes, you're definitely going to be well below what's called upper middle class or even middle class for the most part. And once again, the average income in the United States is probably somewhere around 40,000 or so. So this is a bad situation. I don't know this lady's finances, but here's an example where you would want to have an emergency fund set up, right? A couple of months, ideally 3 months at minimum, that's going to carry you in the event that an emergency happens. Something else that's also tragic about these events is that once you leave a job or you quit to take another job, and in this case, this new employer rescinds the offer, you obviously haven't worked anywhere, right? Because you just quit your old job to take this new job, so you haven't qualified for any unemployment. So the system isn't set up to intervene on these people's behalf and offer some type of financial cushion. So it's important to have I would say, at least 3 months of reserves saved up. Now, I know it's easier said than done. A lot of people just blindly have faith in some of these employers, get the stuff in writing, maybe even have a lawyer review something like that to make sure you've got some legal recourse. But chances are you don't in most cases because, it's a job offer. Going back to her old workplace, which she says was toxic and had high turnover, wasn't an option, but she needed to pay for her car repair and care for her 4-year-old son. She's been doing DoorDash deliveries to make ends meet for the past 3 weeks. Okay. So I do some of these articles live. I don't pre-read them like some people, but there's no right or wrong way of doing that. But the reason why I do this is because I want you guys to get my normal reaction to what I'm reading. I don't want to be, set up to basically give you some candid stuff. I kind of wanted it to be a raw response. So this piece of the article right here clearly speaks to someone who didn't have an emergency fund. Why? I don't know. I can't speak to that. I know it's easier said than done. I've had some tough times myself. So I am empathetic towards that. But, sometimes those vacations and clothes and pretentiousness and trying to keep up with the Joneses, not saying this young lady was doing that, but you have to put that in perspective. I tell people all the time, if you really want to give your significant other a great Christmas present this year, you look her in the eyes and you run your fingers through her hair. Now, if it's Jada Pickett, you ain't gonna be able to do that, homie. You're going to lay her on the pillow and kind of just stroke it on the side. I'm kidding. Don't unsubscribe. Only got like 145 of you guys, so you got to hang with a brother. But anyway, you get the point, right? Financial security is very important. It's very important to me. That's more important than some fancy gift. I used to tell my mom all the time because she was really big on like holidays and birthdays. And I would say, hey, Ma, I understand what you're saying, but time is always ticking. No matter how important you place something or how important that day is to you, there's only 24 hours in a day. That day will come and that day will go, So you got to look at certain things from a marathon's perspective, not a sprint. After taking a few days to process her rescinded job offer, Speller fired up LinkedIn to apply for jobs and saw more news of major companies doing layoffs and taking back offers. This has been a growing trend. And I tell people all the time, I know I'm kind of a financial nerd, so to speak, but you have to understand macro economics and keep yourself well informed and educated about what's happening, not only in your industry, but in the economy overall. You just can't keep your head in the sand because anybody who has a bigger viewpoint of economics knew that a lot of this stuff was coming. You could tell it. It was on its way. So that's something that you really, really need to be careful about. And then right here, they talk about the Labor Department data shows that the U.S. labor market is still tight. I disagree with that. I think the unemployment rate is significantly higher than what the government's reporting. I think it's close. I think it's over 10%, in my humble opinion. One company that I do think that has really good stat information is called shadowstats.com. So if you're interested in those kind of number crunching and graphs and things of that nature, check out their website. They've got a lot of good information. Scroll down here. Okay, but over the past few weeks, many employers started scrambling to tighten their budgets due to rising inflation, rumblings of a looming recession, and swings in the crypto market. Tech giants like Uber and Meta said they are scaling back hiring, while others, including Robinhood, Peloton, and Carvana, conducted layoffs. Once again, all of this stuff was foreseeable. And if you do get yourself in a situation where you are contemplating taking a new job, do your due diligence. Don't be so quick to take that job. Find out about their retention rate. Find out about, are they hiring for the foreseeable future? Obviously, all of that stuff can change on a dime, but try to get as much information about that industry and that employer as possible. You should be vetting them just as much as they're vetting you. Weeks after announcing its own hiring freeze, crypto exchange Coinbase laid off 18%. Now, I had some crypto in there, and there were some issues about Coinbase talking about. I'm not going to get into the weeds about that. My point was that it scared me enough. I'm like, I got to get out of this stuff and just move it to a safer asset class. I'll just leave it at that. So it says tech companies were incentivized to grow at all costs, and in a matter of weeks, we've moved into a world where we're focused on resiliency. Really? I know we promised a lot of people employment, but we changed our mind. I think I think that's probably better said. Just a really bad situation here. There's some more articles in here. I'm not even going to get into all this. Here's a second one. We can't talk about this. Jennifer Bell, 27, right, was set to start as an operations manager at Walmart in Louisville, Kentucky. But within days of accepting the offer, got a call. The role was being eliminated. Right? You would think, hey, operations manager, Walmart, everybody needs to eat, right? So you would think that's a relatively safe company to work for. It all depends. It's almost unbelievable, she says. I had a day to be upset, and then the next day I started applying to jobs left and right. A Walmart spokesperson said the company isn't the company isn't currently eliminating open positions or rescinding job offers, and declined CNBC's request. So just a really, really bad situation. I'm hopeful, knowing it's the type of company that has been stable for decades. That's what I just said. That's why I don't pre-read these articles, as you can tell. Still, she says, getting back into the job hunt is an emotional challenge. It's hard to work through and tell yourself every day, hey, it's not you, when you know it's not your worth or confidence or background. So it's a really, really sad situation about what's going on. Like I said, you really have to be careful about what type of job you have, and are you really in a position to leave that job? Some people may be somewhat insulated because they have seniority. Some people may be enticed to leave a certain job and go to another one because of a signing bonus. So these things are important. But at the end of the day, if you end up being that person that gets a job offer rescinded in the 11th hour, what are you prepared to do? And what kind of measures have you taken to allow yourself to have some type of cushion in the event, not that you're forecasting to get a job rescinded, but more importantly, what if you start a new job and you get injured? What if you start a new job and something happens and you get hurt and you can't work? So this is a situation where an emergency fund plays a key point. If you are experiencing some type of financial hardship, it's really, really difficult right now. I've been on record for years saying pay your debt before your debt gets a hold of you. I think for a lot of people, that's becoming even more and more difficult. If possible, please keep your credit score up and your debt down, because discounts are coming. Asset classes are coming down. Housing, durable goods, we'll see a deflationary period. But before we get to that point, unfortunately, inflation is here and it is experiencing pain. And we're experiencing pain. as a result of it. So if you enjoy this kind of content, please do me a great favor. Please like and subscribe, comment, and share, because I care. This was the Kevin Strong Show, and I'll see you guys in the next video.